Anne-Marie from Soap Queen TV. Thanks so much for joining me on another episode of Soap Queen TV. Today we're going to do an Ask Anne-Marie. And Amanda, Brambleberry's creative director, sent out a call for questions from some soap celebrities, and she got answers back from 4 of our soaping friends that we love to watch their soaps come across our Instagram feed. And so I'm delighted to be able to answer these questions. I haven't seen them before, so this is the first time I'm seeing them, and I'm going to answer them fresh for you. So B of Sorcery Soap, hi B, thanks for asking a question, or 3 of them, asks, what soap do you use in the bath and what soap is in there now? It's a great question. So the soap that I use in the bath is always whatever we're working on for Soap Queen, the blog, or Soap Queen TV. And whether that's testing a recipe that we're not sure that we love, or whether that's a recipe that just ran, that's finally cured, and I'm so excited to use it, it's something we're doing in studio. I also buy a lot of soap from Brambleberry customers to see what people are doing with our products and how they're using it. And so sometimes I'm using customer soaps as well. Right now in the shower, the soap that I have is a pink clay bar that has charcoal lines in it, mica lines in it, and it has rose petals on top. It's a Soap Queen blog project from a couple of months ago. And so that's what's in my shower right now. What's the lowest water discount you use and why? It's a great question. So water in the soap making process is really there as a carrier for the lye or the sodium hydroxide. That's why we need a 4 to 6 week curing time, because we're evaporating out that carrier, that water. The lowest water discount I will ever do is about a 25%. And that's because 1, I want to control my temperatures, and water discounting will sometimes raise your temperatures. And 2, I want to make sure that there's always enough water to be a carrier for the lye. If you go with higher water discounts, you sometimes will get your lye falling out of solution, and I never want that. And then 3, sometimes when you discount your water, you can get acceleration of trace for your batch, meaning the batch moves faster than you want it to. So 25% is about the max I will do. How long does it take to formulate a new fragrance oil? Well, that one varies. So it can be everything from, I smelled this fragrance in a department store, the celebrity fragrance, and I loved these notes in it. Can you just get me a fragrance that works, that smells like this? And some miracle of miracles, it'll work the first time. If that's the case, it's like a 6 to 8 week process. What usually happens 99% of the time though is even if the fragrance smells great, it won't test and perform really well. Brambleberry has super stringent testing standards, and so oftentimes it's about a 9 to 12 month process just to get the fragrance right. And if I wanted something that was like a fantasy fragrance, like say a succulent fragrance, like what does a succulent smell like? My idea of what a succulent smells like would be different than a perfumer's. And so working back and forth when there's a big gray area for what something smells like that's a fantasy fragrance can really add to the process too. But I would say on average, it's about 9 months. And for every fragrance that Brambleberry brings in, we have tested over 100 just to get that one. Sarah from Spicy Pinecone, thank you, Sarah. I love your stuff. Said, what's the biggest obstacle you had to face when scaling up your business, and how did you overcome it? That is a great question. So I would say that the biggest obstacle I had to face when scaling up my business was really cash related, right? Because growth sucks cash, and I didn't have any cash when I was scaling up my business, and I didn't have any cash when I started my business. And that really meant that I couldn't add new products, I couldn't hire people like I wanted to, all of that. In fact, I offered my dad 33% of my company for $5,000 when I needed money to buy products for the holidays. And thankfully he didn't take it. But so cash was a real problem. And so I put all of my needs on credit cards. And in hindsight, that wasn't a great idea. But 20 years ago, that totally seemed like a great idea. Credit was really loosey-goosey, and we weren't kind of in the economic times we are now. Looking back, I probably wouldn't have made that same decision. I would have made the decision to slow growth rather than put all that money on credit cards. But that's the biggest problem I had when I was scaling up, followed very closely by people and hiring. Kevin from Devinely Designed. Hi, Kevin said, now that you have a very successful soap business, do you ever just make soap for fun anymore? And Kevin, that's such a great question because yes and no. I don't make soap for fun if I don't schedule it, which is kind of the paradox, right? Like you're scheduling your fun, but really there's so many amazing projects that we're trying to make all the time for Soap Queen and Soap Queen TV, and when you're in the studio, you're doing it with a purpose. And so in the last few months, I've just been putting soap for 1 hour, soap for 1 hour, soap for 1 hour, which is just my time to go into the studio, grab whatever new fragrances and colors we have, and just start playing and see what happens. And that makes it really fun. And that rekindles kind of my love affair with soap making. You are stranded on a gorgeous tropical island that happens to have a fully stocked soap shack. My. Except it only has one fragrance or essential oil. What is it? Oh, this one's so easy for me. It's definitely Energy from Brambleberry because it's bright, it's cheery, it's fruity, it's fun, and it works in every single recipe. And it's citrus, and who could be tired of citrus really ever? Lane from Mama Bath Soap said, have you been creative and crafty since you were a little girl? So first of all, Lane, I love the MFS project you did for Soap Queen. Thank you. And to answer your question, yeah, I have been creative and crafty since I was a little girl. My first publicity, my first newspaper mention was when I won a Easter egg decoupaging contest when I was 4 years old. And so I got my picture in the paper and everything. And my dad, when I came home from the hospital, when I was born, had me in a homemade Viking suit that he had sewn himself. So I've got some pretty good genes to be creative. And so whether it was rubber stamping, decoupaging, knitting, cheese making, or soap making, I was always ruining my mom's kitchen with all my crafty projects. When you were first beginning soap making, did you have mentors or a mentor? For soap making, I didn't have any mentors. That was back when there was no wireless. It was just AOL and dial-up. There was one book that you could check out from the library, but there was no blogs out there, nothing like that. And back then, I really believed that Handmade was best made. And so I would fail and teach myself something 5 times. I'd literally try something 5 times. It would keep failing, but on the 6th time, it would work. And so for soap making, I didn't have any real mentors because there just wasn't the kind of community we have now thanks to the internet. As for business mentors though, I definitely had business mentors. Everything from my dad to a friend that had a master's degree looking at my profit and loss, telling me if I was making money, to just reading the top business books that came out back then, right? Because leaders are readers. And so I would read business books and then I would try to apply them to Brambleberry, sometimes with some success, sometimes without. And so I really believe that having those business mentors, whether they were in person and knew they were a business mentor or whether they were me reading them, was essential for getting kind of past those early years for Brambleberry. What's your absolute most favorite fragrance you carry? Well, I definitely, obviously, am really partial to Energy fragrance, but if I had to pick another one, it would be Relaxing or Vanilla Select, but I'm gonna go with Relaxing because that's kind of a more sophisticated vanilla and everybody loves a vanilla, and that vanilla, the Relaxing, has a little bit of lavender in it. It's got some sandalwood notes in it. It's a really nice, complex scent, even though it does discolor. I've noticed that you and I both have spirited, mischievous little girls. Why, yes, I do. What's your favorite way to entertain Lily when you're getting things done? And is she crafty like you? Yes, both of my kids are totally crafty. They've both been making soaps and lotions and toiletries since they were babies. In fact, Lily came to work with me every day until she was 5 months old. And so my favorite way to entertain her when I need some time is to give her a really easy basic science project. So whether that's giving her some baking soda and vinegar and some food coloring to play with, or citric acid and baking soda and food coloring, or giving her some cornstarch with water and food coloring, I will set her up in an area of the kitchen that can get messy with multiple things to play with, multiple bowls and spoons, and she will entertain herself for a good 30 to 45 minutes. And since most of the time when I'm busy, if it's not laundry related, it's almost always cleaning or making dinner or something like that in the kitchen. So it's perfect. And I love crafting and creating with both of my kids because I really believe that creativity is essential. And teaching them from a really young age to have that creative outlet has been really fun for me, and I know it's something that's going to last them a lifetime. So you guys, those are all the questions we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this Ask Anne-Marie episode of Soap Queen TV. I can't wait to see your creations on Instagram and on our Facebook page. If you put them on Instagram or Twitter, make sure you hashtag them BrambleOn so that I can see them, because I love seeing your creativity. Until next time, happy soaping!